Welcome to the Social Regeneration Podcast. My name is Pia Hillebrecht and I am your host, where we explore together with fellow change agents how we can ensure a thriving future for all living beings on this planet. In this podcast, we talk about climate justice, social entrepreneurship, regenerative business models, and the skills and mindsets we need to foster as sustainability professionals and regenerative practitioners to bring a new paradigm into the world. You are here exactly in the right place if you already consider yourself a system change driver or are an aspiring sustainability professional, curious to explore regenerative practices and how you can find your place, role, and contribution. Whether you are at the beginning of your journey or already been deep into this field for years, welcome to the space where we inspire, motivate, and empower each other. Welcome everyone to the first episode in 2026. I'm super excited to start it with my dear friend and colleague Cathérine Lehman, who you have heard about somehow quite a lot in last year's episodes, I feel, because Cathérine is the founder, the initiator of the CREATE Regeneration, the event that Artem and I have been invited to facilitate at, and some other people who have also already been speaking here on this podcast have been present, involved somehow. So it is, really exciting to start this new year with an in-depth conversation with Cathérine. She has been working in the fields of sustainability, environmental protection, and the socio-ecological transformation for several years already. And in a professional context and in her free time, she was active in project management, consulting, research, and entrepreneurship in various initiatives. Also, right now, I don't know exactly which projects, organizations she's involved with in or not. But in recent years, she has shifted to include more inner work also in all aspects of her life. And since then, she is committed to creating a regenerative society through inner and outer transformation. And this is also one of the reasons why she created CREATE Regeneration, where she works on bringing people together and fostering co-creation amongst people and organizations who are also active in the space or who are also thriving towards, a regenerative society. And I experienced Cathérine especially as a convener and gatherer and community builder and a very, interesting leader, because she's not so loud into the front, but like a very strong, initiator and holding all the threads together and bringing people together in her own ways. And this is exactly what we want to talk about today on this podcast. Of course, about CREATE, about Cathérine's personal journey, but also about like community, leadership, and co-creation. Welcome, Cathérine, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year, and thanks a lot for the very warm words, dear Pia.
We already said that we planned the flow of this conversation. We sketched it out a little bit on a walk close to Berlin. Was it December? Oh, it was November.
Yes.
It was November. And we just decided to go with a quite simple and straightforward, like past, present, future model. So let's just start in the past before we go into the present and then into the future. what was your journey like, and also what is CREATE currently? What has been its history? And also, I'm particularly excited to hear a little bit like what's on the horizon for the next iteration. But yeah, before we start into all the details also about your own journey, for those who have not listened into the previous episodes with others involved in the CREATE, what is CREATE Regeneration about? Your main projects, also knowing which other projects you're involved. So maybe you can also mention there one or two or three other projects that are important to you. That would be, I think, a good anchor for our conversation.
Yes, of course. So CREATE Regeneration aims to bring people together in the regenerative spheres, or people who want to get to know more about the connection of inner and outer work, maybe having been very active in inner work or outer work. So we want to bring all those people together who we feel have the collective intention to create a more beautiful world, more lively, more happy in a sense. And we started with the CREATE Convention, which is a 4-day event taking place in summer. So we're having the 3rd edition this year, which I'm very looking forward to. And this is our main gathering space. And now we're also working on an online community, the CREATE community. We've been doing some individual formats already, but there's going to be a platform which is already looking a bit into the future. So there's a lot going on this year especially, and besides working on CREATE and its establishment, I'm very into co-creating with other organizations in the field, and as Pia said, bringing people together and fostering connections. So I'm partly helping other organizations with their projects, or we're doing things together. So they might not have their specific names, but it's all kind of in the same sphere.
And this is so beautiful. A gift that you have brought or intensified, let's say, in my life last year through the CREATE is exactly that, seeing that it's not competition amongst all those organizations, solopreneurs, experts, pioneers who are working in this field, like exploring how can a regenerative society look like, what does regeneration mean, what skills, tools do we need, what inner attitudes, mindsets, but also like external structures do we need. I think there are many people active in this field, and even before the CREATE, I had this feeling like there's no competition. We're all colleagues, even if we're working for different organizations. Like I consider everyone colleague because we're striving towards the same vision. We're on the same mission, maybe with like more specified, like some are focusing more on inner work, some are focusing more on outer work, but we all agree like both is needed. And I find it so beautiful that you're bringing this together and also just like emphasizing the necessity of it and proactively bringing together those actors. This is, at least this is something how I perceived it. What I see that you do very well with the CREATE, and I think it's also one of your intentions, like moving forward, to co-create even more with all those people who are already involved. Why do you do that? So why did you start CREATE, and what have you done before that? What was missing? Because I mean, people start projects usually when they say, hey, this is something nobody's doing yet, or they feel a strong calling. So what did you do before, and what was missing, and what gave you the courage to take a leap and initiate such a big thing? And I wasn't part of the first one, but from what I heard, it was quite a fast and quick putting into place of the first summit, which was not small. So yeah, maybe let's start there.
Yes, so I'll try to summarize a bit to not tell you my whole life. or put it in a nutshell. So I grew up in the countryside, and I've always had a close connection to nature around me. I like to play in the garden, in the forest, etc. And so this was always a topic for me. And then, school life passes on and you get a bit lost somehow. And later I got active in natural protection when I came back to those topics. And we looked at our ecological footprint at school. And I learned a lot, about, especially in geography lessons, about coal mining in the indigenous areas, or how our nutrition is shipped from Spain to Germany, like the strawberries in southern Spain, where there's actually no water. And so I got very aware of those topics. And at that point, I was in a very heady space, let's say it. Like in our society, it's quite normal to be very head focused. So I was very rational and was like, for example, for me, it doesn't make sense to eat any beef anymore because it's just a lot of water needed for doing this. So that was kind of my start into going vegetarian and later more veganish. So it was a very rational start. And so I was also like,
Same here.
Great.
Exactly the same thing. I think for me the most impressive moment was when my geography teacher was counting down. Everyone get up, and then like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You sit down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You sit down. And he said like, well, it was not the best pedagogical education, but it definitely left a mark. Like every 6 seconds, a child on the African continent dies of malnutrition or no access to clean water. That definitely was one of my geography lesson moments. And then also exactly the same as you, like carbon accounting, like how many emissions does each food item have, or cosmetics item, or I don't know what. And always looking for like the least harm that I can do with my consumption choices. Very head heavy start as well here.
Glad to hear that. I see we have some similar paths in some respects. And so I got involved in environmental protection in a youth organization. That was the first start, and then I started studying business administration, lack of better choices at that time. But it was also helpful to understand how our world is currently run. Let's put it like that. And meanwhile, I was mostly active with social entrepreneurship, so like not studying that much. We had the luck to not have a lot of presence, so I could only show up for the exams at the end of the semester and do my other stuff in the meantime, basically.
Also a good way to do it.
Worked out. So it was fine overall because I didn't spend that much time there. And it dealt a lot with nonprofit management in the electives, and which was more of interest for me. And then I was already clear, so I want to continue in work of field of sustainability and also in my master's. So that was really clear, and I did a gap year in sustainability consulting, and I was very frustrated because the team was great, but it was a lot about those corporate sustainability reports, and I was like, I wanted to change sustainability strategies and not tell you why, for example, Bayer is so sustainable, because they have a very nice report which checks all the marks. But I think people on the podcast agree that it's not a very sustainable company.
Nope.
So I was frustrated with that, and then I started to study sustainability management. And I dove even deeper in all those topics and the head-heavy stuff. And it was really interesting. And on the other hand, it was also really frustrating because we learned all the problems and we also learned some solutions. But then we also always analyze why the solutions aren't enough yet or why they don't work. For example, SDG washing, which is when companies apparently work on the SDGs, but only pick the one they're good at.
Yes.
For example, going with Bayer to continue, they say we're working on health, which might be true in some respect, but they also have a lot of pesticides, so they make people sick on the other hand. But if you only talk about the health part and say we're working on the SDG for health, that's SDG washing. So I was really frustrated because the stuff didn't go on.
Same here. Yes. Also in my master's, we were like, criticizing or critically analyzing like this SDG cherry picking and taking, siloing one, two, or maximum three out, like that you are focusing on as a company, whereas SDGs have been designed, created as a coherent, integrated thing that you cannot just like pick, oh, I want to work on this and this and that, and the other rest I don't care, because it's all interconnected. And most organizations, even sustainability managers, don't understand that. So I'm very happy to hear that yeah, you got this space or this education where you could critically reflect about even the good first movements. I mean, I think sustainability reporting, the SDGs were good first steps. But yes, never enough. Never enough. That's definitely also a message that I got. So, on the other hand, I'm also sad for you, but also totally empathizing with the frustrating part of that learning journey.
Yeah. Yeah, my at that time partner always said, yeah, my studies are kind of the license for depression because it's like all the problems all the time. And I must agree, I had kind of a pessimistic mindset at that time because of
Climate
this
anxiety
dynamic.
is real. And for me, it came later, not during studies, but actually after a couple jobs that and a COVID crisis and a war attack on Ukraine and all of that. But like really like this world global pain. Like I seek support with a therapist because I was like, this heaviness of all these complex challenges in the world, sustainability related, social justice related, like I was really like, yes, I'm noticing I'm sliding here deeply into depression. And that's not just like a phase and I have a little bit of climate anxiety, but just like, and the therapist didn't understand. And they were just like trying to dig deeper and say like, yeah, but what is it below that? And what in your childhood? And I'm like, this is not about my childhood. This is just about the current state of the world. So yeah, agree with your back then partner.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't see it in that way. So very good that you got your help. And at that point, a shout out to psychologists and the coaches for future who are helping people mostly for free in those fields. So yeah, they're great initiatives to help that. But I was still focused on like I have to rumble in the outer world focus after my studies, and I spent a lot of time. Well, I was at a business school which did a sustainability program, which is great because they're doing a lot in the effort, but also the weak point of the SDGs is the economic growth part in it, which I don't agree with. And I spend a lot of time focusing also on alternative economic approaches, also with my business background, like post-growth, degrowth, and so on, which they actually took on for the next year's program, which I'm a bit proud of because I wrote a master's thesis on it and they were like, oh yeah, it's actually an important topic. So it's might be the first business school who's afterwards ever done a first panel on degrowth. So
Yay!
some
Love it.
small stones rolling at least. Yeah, and I started working there in the Institute for Ecological Economy Research in Berlin after not as an internship during my master's on post growth, and so I dove deeper in this topic after my thesis, and then I kind of remained with research at the Technological University of Berlin and on sustainable consumption at that point, and it's really great people also in connection with Ecosia, but we had some challenges because for an IT project we lacked at that point some IT people who actually could apply what we were doing in research, and the other relevant part was that there was actually not much data, so my role was to help compare items on their degree of sustainability to then nudge people in online purchasing, for example, on to choosing the better option. Or we also wanted to include sufficiency. So yeah, maybe you buy a used item or you don't buy anything new at all because last month you already bought some new pair of jeans, for example. But we didn't have a lot of data on that, so it was really frustrating, and so I couldn't actually do what we wanted to do in the end. And I also realized that great colleagues are great, but I needed some other kind of work environment for myself. Like, I kind of have my own energy. And some people around us say our family is bad with bosses because we're all self-employed by now in various degrees. So I can work with bosses, but I need a lot of freedom and to see if things make sense. And so it was a bit of a frustrating experience for me, the whole collection of not having data, not advancing, and lacking some freedom I then didn't know I need, but I figured out later.
I can so much agree. And here an apology to my previous bosses and employers who were really great, who were really, most of them, very supportive of my development and such. But I think I was a very annoying employee. And I think it's better for all of us that I'm more a collaborator. Yeah, because we got trained to challenge the status quo. We got trained to question the current structures. We were trained to speak up and not, let things pass by. So I feel it's also maybe some genes in the family in your case, but for me, it's also definitely like I got trained to have an opinion and to use my privilege to stand up for myself and others. So yeah, I think that that's also something that studying sustainability does to you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then I got in a bit of a personal crisis, job-wise, relationship-wise, and some other things. I was a bit sickish for a while, and I realized I was so much going against what I needed to do, or if you want to put it a bit more spiritually, what my soul maybe wanted me to do. And yes, I was like, okay, I have to quit this job and I have to make some changes. And then I was kind of in my hole at the bottom, or in the theory I don't know anything anymore, going with Otto Schama, which was a really great place because I could kind of refigure my whole life because everything was gone, like my flat, my boyfriend, and my job, so I could do a fresh new start. And then
But that also must have been scary. Like, did you have any tools, any support in that time? Or now in hindsight, you're like, okay, that was necessary. I came out of it. But like, yeah, what would you recommend other people who are maybe currently in the situation of like, I need to quit, I need to change my life. My soul is screaming at me, but I don't know what the next step is. Like, would you recommend leaving it all behind, dropping it? Like, how can you ensure that you'll get out of it? I think this is a question many people have who are still, on the verge of dropping and falling.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, and I am not saying that it was pleasant at all. It's a lot of, I see the good from the hindsight. It was probably one of my hardest years ever. It was 2021, and it was not easy peasy. So don't get me wrong, I was not like, yeah, it's fun to change my whole life at once. Definitely not. What helped me was, at the time I moved shortly back in with my parents, so it doesn't have to be the parents. Now I wouldn't probably do that anymore, but maybe have some good friends. So the social network is really important. And I also realized that I leaned a bit too much on my partner in that time, which was also COVID. So it was kind of a, not forced that much, but it was also a bit limited. But I felt I needed to strengthen more my other social connections. For example, since then, like for 4 years, I've been talking on the phone with a very good female friend, like each month, except for when she was getting her child. We stuck to the rhythm. So that's really helpful to have like an established social connection. So whatever goes on, I know there's at least some stability there. And it can be several people, but that has been an institution kind of, which is very helpful. And since then, I've tried to spread out more. That also I don't put that much social expectation on one or two people, but spread it out more. And yeah, so since then my social web has strengthened a lot. So I can recommend that to really focus on relationships, and not only one relationship like the partnership, but yeah, that would be a first recommendation.
100% agree. Also, a learning journey that I had to go through as well. As also exactly in that same time that I also mentioned, like the reason why I said like I need external professional help is because it is affecting my relationship with my partner. He cannot carry this. Like I don't know what's going on with me. How shall he be able to help me? And yes, I love that you're strengthening, are stressing that social connections, friendships. I think when we're feeling lost and sometimes maybe even as a failure, like I'm not fit for this job kind of moment in life. I don't know what's next. Like we tend to isolate ourselves, and I think this is exactly the wrong thing to do. So yeah, having maybe even before you fall down the cliff, having some friendships established, some routines where you can, yeah, where it's okay to show up as you are and have some friends that you can lean on. I think that's a super important takeaway. Yeah, also so grateful for so many friends that I had calls with on walks during lockdown 1, 2, 3. I don't know what. That was definitely super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then one more point before I take the switch, because this also brings us to create, kind of, which was your main question. um, yeah, one more point was like then I figured out for myself I don't have to find the perfect solution for all areas of life at once. So I then had the opportunity to move in with a friend back to Berlin to get closer also to my remaining friends, which was one step. And then not looking like directly for the perfect kind of job, but I went back with the Institute for Ecological Economy Research, and yeah, with the boss where I had a lot of leeway in my projects, which was very helpful, and we worked very well together, which was like a, yeah, the other person was in maternity leave, so it was like a, for the time being, for me, a good solution. And it was like it's a step on, but I know it's not where I want to go, but not overdoing it, that I need to have it perfect right now. So finding maybe good solutions for a step, for the next step. So, and yeah, and what you also mentioned, you got help in a form of a therapy, and I did kind of a other approach because I
Well, in
landed
the end, I
in
didn't. The solution was I just quit my job because I couldn't find a fitting therapist. The day that I found a fitting therapist was the day that I handed in my resignation, talked to my
okay.
supervisor, and then I arrived there and I was like, I'm feeling great. I think I don't need this anymore. And she's like, yes, go fly, bird. You're a bird in a cage. Like you have to release yourself. Like that's, I'm like, okay. Go sail the ocean. I'm like, all right, I'll be okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, sure. Thanks for clarification. Yeah, I can get the relief part on quitting the job which doesn't fit. It was a very helpful day for me as well. But however, my problem was not only the cage part, but also like this, yeah, kind of pessimistic worldview behind it. Yeah, and also being very insecure in myself. This was not only because of studies, but on the way along, like feeling a bit strange and always a bit others than many other people, and yeah, being a bit of a pioneer in some areas as well, and being like highly sensitive and things where you don't always feel like being like everyone else around you, kind of topics. And then I got into personality development, which it was called at that time, or inner work, which is the easier term, and did some seminars. And so that was a very different world to my sustainability world, because it was very much focused on how do I think, how do I feel, which consequences does that have, which kind of news, for example, do I consume. So I quit stopping quit watching the news regularly like I did before, which is like a very negative intoxication each day. So steps like this, which accumulated to my feeling better and better and having great coaches and meeting people who are also into like, we're not not life doesn't happen to us but for us kind of mindset. So which is what's the chance in things, and I have some way of designing my life, and it depends a lot on how I view myself, and not being too attached to what others think of me and all those topics. So I had a very intense year of working all those limiting beliefs I had. This was really helpful, and so the inner work got into my life.
Do you have any concrete coaches that you want to mention, or trainings, events that you went to where you got the opportunity to do this inner work?
Yeah, I at that time started with Christian Bischoff, which is a quite famous coach in German-speaking world, and it was great for starters for me. And I think it depends a lot. I think you feel a resonance with the right coach at the right time. So for that time, it was really great for me because I also met lots of people who have become my friends afterwards, because sharing your deepest insights kind of right off from the start with people. So at that time, it was great for me. And later I felt, for example, I need to deal more with topics relating women issues. So then I, for example, did some seminars with his wife or with other female coaches. And so I had kind of a progression along the way and felt like, at the moment, I feel this person has taught me what I needed to learn for this moment, and then I move on. I think that's important, not to cling to the same person necessarily. You can, but sometimes life evolves, and then later I also had some more, let's say, spiritual coaches, because as I said, I started more from the head side, and with him I got more into meditation and a deeper connection. But then I also felt for this, I again need other people to dive deeper into it, or with other perspectives. Yeah.
Listening to you, I just have this feeling of like, I'm so proud of us as a community of like sustainability professionals. And it's okay that it's started also for us, with a regular study program. And in Germany, like, we are science driven. Like, this is like the highest standard in our society, like science and maybe engineering, like innovation in the traditional sense of like big corporates producing stuff and more stuff. But like, from this head heavy side, okay, how can we do that in a better, more sustainable way? But then also seeing like, just doing the same things in a better way, in a more sustainable way, in a less harmful way, is not solving the root cause problem. And then, I mean, I also feel for us that we have to go through this painful experience, because so many people who have also spoken on this podcast like have had the same moment or multiple moments of like crisis in their life. Like, I'm already on the right path towards better, more purposeful, meaningful work, but it still does not feel right. And I feel it's so brave and courageous to take the step to pause and say, okay, I cannot change the outer in this mental state, with this inner pain. Like, this is not healthy for myself, and it is not really exactly the right thing to do that will fundamentally shift things. So I'm also so proud that, the SDGs have been created. They had their, as you say with the coaches, their value at the time. And now we need new goals, which are the IDGs. So proud of this community that we're really like sensing as a collective, also together going through this journey. Well, somehow everyone in their own ways, but also somehow collectively, because now we can support each other, giving forward, feeding forward. You're organizing, hosting such events. I'm hosting such programs and trainings and mentorings for people. I'm really proud of us that we're not giving up, and that we're sensing into what is needed next, and that we're also taking this pause and break to work on ourselves first before we push forward things that maybe don't even make sense or make us actually unhealthy and sick. Sorry for this interruption. Usually I'm
No,
not
very
interrupting
well.
so much, I think.
No, it's
It just
kind of
resonates all so
reaffirming.
much with me.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, yeah, and I didn't know the IDGs at that point. I got to know them later, and I also feel that's very valuable connection IDGs and SDGs brought together. And yeah, so I was feeling better and better through time, and then I got to the point like now I've worked basically a whole year very much on myself, and I'm not saying it's has ever stopped, and it shouldn't, but I felt like now I've done a deep dive, and I was like, yeah, but I still want to change the outer and not only my inner world kind of thing. Yeah, and I felt it needed more connection because I now had the sustainability community, which wanted to change the outer, and I had the personal development people who were like very much into the inner work. And it's like, yeah, but they need to go together, otherwise it doesn't work. And yeah, and at that point, I, for example, didn't know the IDGs, so I was like, yeah, who else has thought about it? I can't be the only and first one, but at that point, I didn't know it, so I was a bit like, yeah. And on the same time, I was then working with sustainability in cities, and I had all those visions living in Berlin, how this could look like in the world I would like to live in, like green streets and less noise and more people coming together and so on. And I was like, yeah, but I can't draw it, or I'm lacking the creative skill set to actually show it to other people. And then I through various ways, I landed with the visual utopias done by many artists together with Reinventing Society. And then I got stuck on their website and was like, wow, there are people who are thinking like me. Like there's inner and outer topics, and they listed all amazing literature, which I was like, yeah, I've read that. That's great. Or I want to read that. It's on my list. And I felt like, oh, well, there are finally people who are bringing this together as well, which was a huge relief. And then they had even all the visuals for what I had in my head, so I didn't need to create them anymore. That was very helpful. Yeah, and then I got also more to know the term regeneration. So having a word which combines for me the aspects of the inner and the outer, and having a new outlook to the world, like seeing all the connections, like being more connected and yeah, in peace with myself, with other people, and with all the beings around me. Seeing us not as we need to very strictly minimize our ecological footprint, like we as people are not on Earth to harm the Earth. So because if I only want to reduce my footprint all the time, I want to eliminate myself somehow, and this doesn't work. And of course, we're doing a lot of harm with the way our culture is built, but looking at indigenous people who are still much more in connection with nature, we can see that, yeah, we as people actually have a caring role for the world, and we can help that ecosystems thrive and that our societies thrive. So going from sustainability to regeneration and having this more wholesome and more positive outlook and mindset, and the deeper connection with everything in me and around me, kind of got a real relief. So now I can breathe again a moment.
And this is also, I think, a feeling that describes so well, like when I nudge my mentees, you need to find your thrive. You're not alone, your tribe. You're not alone. There are people who think like you. There are people who have written books about that. And I just know this feeling of like, I think for me it was actually the Degrowth book by Jason Hickel.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely was like the worst holiday ever, because I went down on the one hand like, fuck this world. And on the other hand, thanks God, a renowned scientist thinks the same way I do. Like, I cannot be so wrong. So yes, I definitely know this feeling, and it already relaxes me to hear you speak about this moment of like finding your people, finding your tribe, and finding that community of scientists, but also practitioners, where you felt like, now I have words and now I have visuals for all the things in my head and in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a really helpful step and instance. And then, some things happened and they had some remodeling of the organization. So it wasn't a good time to join kind of as a new person and really having a team or a full tribe around me. So it already helped with what you said with the visuals and having some people, like-minded people I could talk to. So it was a vast improvement, and I'm amazingly grateful. And now we've become very good friends over the time. So that's great. And I still felt that there was something missing. I was still working a bit more on the sustainability in cities field. And then I was at a coaching for a very random different topic, and she was like, yeah, well, before I have an impulse for you. So I see something, and if you want to take it, take it. And then she was like, I see you organize a conference because you like to bring people together, you like nature and community, and you have something to show. And I was like, I've never thought about organizing a conference or something like that. Like, not in my life. I had lots of ideas so far, but never of a conference. And I was like, yeah, but somehow it resonated with me. And then the next morning, I actually sat down and I was like, because she said, if you have a topic, because there was no topic yet, she just said, organize a conference and do it quickly. It was like in August. She said, like, yeah, maybe you can do it in November. And I'm like, hold on, I don't even know what to do. But then I woke up and was like, yeah, I'm missing like the inner and outer community brought together. So why don't I do an event on that? But I don't want to do a conference because a conference sounds so amazingly scientific and heady, and I don't want to do that. So I kind of gathered from all the great seminars and events I attended, like what I liked about them, like singing together and using the body and going into nature and being more interactive, talking with people about the real deep stuff, and not having someone in the front telling you all the time what you should do or not do and so on. And then I kind of just wrote down the concept for the first CREATE convention, which didn't have a name at that point, or it had a very different name, which I came up with in the beginning.
Do you want to spill it?
Yeah, I had like I got into regenerability, like regeneration ability, because I'd read a lot about like future skills and transformative competencies, what we need, like to live well in a world full of change and the circumstances we have, or a transform ability, like the ability for transformation. And I actually found out that people in my sphere have a seminar called Transformability, which is a bit IDG related. So it was fun. I didn't choose the name, but it came back to me like a few months later.
Funny.
Yeah. But then I started to talk with people who were, as I said, I didn't know many people who did both, like inner and outer. I had like my two groups, but there were some, and I talked to them like, yeah, do you think that could be interesting to bring this together? And yeah, so I found some great people who helped me start off CREATE, and then later we did some brainstorming, and I came up with the name, like first CREATE, and then we added the regeneration later to make it a bit more clear which kind of CREATE it's going to be. Yeah, and then so we started in December or November. It's a very good time in the year to start things, like not in winter, but it was kind of a timeline because we wanted to do in the next summer, and so we needed to start in depth of winter, and started to convene the first team, which was very, just the people which fell into my way were fitting, and one person from the Right on Start is still on board, so that's really cool. And that was in 2023, so in the end of that. And so we had a rough timeline to get the first convention started, like half a year later. So yeah, that was kind of a lot of effort, and so we're coming closer to the present now.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing this. I learned a lot about you now. I mean, we have spent now some time together also, like on a personal level, but I think I never got the full bio backstory. Let's maybe take a breather together, if you like, before we go into
sure.
the present. Okay. So now we're, well, almost in the present, 2023, 2024, the first CREATE convention. And I didn't know about that back then. I got to know about it this year. So what does a CREATE convention look like? What's the experience? I think your intention with it got quite clear, but then it gets down to the nitty-gritty design of things, right? Like, how do you facilitate? What's the journey for the participants? And also, I know that you are putting a particular attention to this should not be just talking about regeneration, but the event in itself should be regenerative for everyone involved, including the organizing team and facilitators. Or maybe that was also a big learning from the first convention. So do you want to share a little bit about, I don't know, successes and failures, learnings along the way, how to organize and set up and hold and host such a convention in a regenerative way?
Yeah, sure. We had some successes and failures definitely along the way. So as I said, we had a very makeshift team, which has never met because we were in different parts of Germany. So we put it up like completely digitally. We had a huge age span from someone in their bachelor studies to people closer to retirement age. So we also had a kind of a gap in IT skills, for example, which we needed to deal with, and lots of misunderstandings along the way. So it was not that easy. And but we managed it somehow, and we had an event, and there were people there. And what I liked most about the process, except for like having people who are helping me to actually make it happen, because I couldn't have done it on my own in any form, was to find out how many great people are actually active in this field. So what you're hinting at, or people you're interviewing now, and that's so great because I had known about Reinventing Society and some people around me, but still like not the field. I was still like, yeah, who's in transformation regeneration at all? And then we had kind of for the first edition an open formula where people could apply with ideas for workshops and speeches. We had some of them, like not too much. And and I got some hints from people, and I was doing research and looking on LinkedIn, which helps me a lot with research and finding people. And then I was like, boy, it's so amazing how many great people are working in transformation. And it was like, so in 2024, I got so much positive spirit and talking to so many great people and seeing, boy, the field's actually bigger than I knew. And how didn't I know about it before? Because I've been active for like 15 years in environmental protection and sustainability, but I never got to know those regeneration and transformation people who are more into the inner and outer work together. And I was like, where did they hide all the time?
So funny that you say that. And this is a part of my mentoring programs, like nudging people, use LinkedIn. It's not so bad. It can actually be so healing and so amazing. Like, I've met so many friends, like colleagues and now close friends through LinkedIn, because we're just like, oh, thank you for writing this post. This resonates so much. Shall we meet for coffee? You know? So yeah, I use this platform, I don't know, in a quite natural, organic way, like in a loving way, because it has brought so many amazing people into my life as well. And I think it came from me from this search for who else thinks like me. I cannot be so wrong. And then just like starting by following one person, looking who's commenting, following that person. And so that was a bit like how I went about it. but sometimes I feel it's a bit difficult to get it across to my mentees who are like, but I don't know, it's so businessy. But I think it's like you have to crack the algorithm. Like, I don't know, go past the algorithm, do your own algorithm. How can you explain it? Like, how did it work for you? Like, how did you finally find your people, or despite you being already in this field for so long? So what were you missing? Can you put the finger on it?
Yeah, I think one part is that I was missing the terms, like transformation, regeneration. I didn't know it existed in that way, so I couldn't look for it. Because if I looked for sustainability or climate protection, I got to a different result. So, and yeah, like having the terms for it, also like different, or I would never have looked for anything related to spirituality before because I was very heady and I didn't believe in anything like that we're like connected or something. So it was a shift that I think before I couldn't also have related to the people because when I hadn't done so much inner work, it was a different vibe kind of thing.
I
And
understand.
also my mindset was more, I got quite of fears, for example, in the beginning of my vegan phase, like everyone who eats meat is a bad person kind of mood. And in that you don't relate with people and you can't convince them of anything, or like everyone who drives a car is a bad person. So I was
Oh my
kind of,
God, Cathérine, are we
it
the
is
same
weird.
person? Are we the same person?
Yeah, so yeah, you know what I mean. And in this attitude, you don't really get to people. So it was important to change my attitude first, and then I also got to know more people who are in the same spirit along the way.
Beautiful. Oh,
No.
you make me almost cry. Out of like empathy for our past younger selves. Like
They didn't know better.
they did know better. They had to go through those struggles and they emerged out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was also growing more confident because I learned that many people actually like to talk to you when you're really interested in them as a person. And
That's what I keep on telling people.
yes,
People love talking about themselves, especially if they're passionate about something like
yes,
regeneration, changing the world for a better.
yes. And I mean, some people don't answer because they're too busy, for example, but I never got like a full on no. And even if it's fine. So I had so many great talks, like also before about sustainability in cities, people telling me all about their experiences. So great. And I mean, there are also other platforms like Reflector for sustainability people and so on. If you really don't want to go on LinkedIn, it's fine, but find your place where you can find people. And then getting to know more people. For example, one of my teammates has been longer in the field, so he could also introduce me to great people or invite them in. He also recommended that we do the convention at Wir bauen Zukunft, where we did it in the end. So that was also
Where you're
helpful.
sitting
Like
right now again.
where I'm sitting right now
Where I
as
have
well.
spent a month in New York after me joining the CREATE in last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful place. And so then I kind of, it's like this game. Is it domino in English as well? I don't know, where you have all the small stones which you put after another, and when you push the first, then everything keeps falling down when you have done it well.
Yeah, I
And I
guess
feel
it's called domino.
it was kind of like that. So when I had the first things going on, it rippled out, and it's amazing. There are so many cool people around me.
Yeah, and I remember this TV show, like the big domino thing, where then there's like you push one domino and it starts like a snake, but then it spreads and then like the pieces fall and you have beautiful colored flowers and I don't know what. Yeah,
Yeah, it
beautiful
was
picture
kind
in
of
my mind
like
right
that.
now.
So that was really also giving me strength when it was kind of exhausting organizing a big event for many people first time, and yeah, organizing a brand new team. And so for the first edition, coming a bit back to the content question, we had several workshops and speeches from people from the field, like very different from breathwork to tiny house construction. So it was really a broad scale with, I think, like 30 different things people could attend throughout the 4 days, and having like our frame program with meditation and singing and whatever you can come up with. So that was really nice. And then, as you already hinted at, I was kind of burnt out afterwards. And I was like, that was not very regenerative at all. I mean, it was really a great vibe of connection, and people were so grateful, and many people, and they came to me and like, it was a really good experience here, and I learned so much, and I got to know people I like. So I got a lot of positive feedback, but I was so overdone with having worked like 4 or 5 days straight. We also had the storm and had to evacuate people, and there were some illnesses, so we had
Oh
to
wow, I
organize
didn't know that.
medicine. And yeah, so kind of the outer world put even more intense challenges on us. Because here on the area, you have to say that there are people in tents. So when there's like a thunderstorm, people shouldn't stay in their tents basically. And then we had to see to not do it in the middle of the night, if they can sleep inside. And yeah, organizing like 60, 70, 80 people around in a short period of time, and having the program running and so on. It was very stressful. And
I
everyone
didn't know
came
that
to me with
that
questions.
happened
Yeah.
on top. Oh
Yes.
gosh.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then everyone came to me when there was a question, kind of. And yeah, so afterwards I was like, I, d- I heard people say that it's great, but I couldn't feel it anymore because my nervous system was so over the top that it couldn't sync. So I was so filled with stress that all the positive stuff couldn't get in. I was like, yeah, it's, and then I was like, can I do this again? And I had some space afterwards, having dealt with everything which needed to be organized afterwards, because when the event is over, it's not over yet. Only for people who attended, not for the people who organize it. And yeah, and then I did the coaching with my long-term coach, who's been with me for a long time, and we saw, yes, I want to continue, and there's life in that, and we got all this amazing feedback, but I need to do it differently, and partly with different people. So and that was good for me to see. And actually it took like 3 or 4 weeks when a very good friend sent me a voice message, like kind of that I could be proud of what I did, and that he was proud of me because he hadn't been there, but yeah, sent me a message afterward. And it was like this 3 or 4 weeks later that the first time I could feel actually what I had done, and feel something positive about it. And I yeah, want to prevent other people from having a similar experience, and I wanted to prevent myself and our team from having this experience again.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this so honestly and openly. And I think just like the guest before, Shilpa, who has also created an amazing organization, Search for Water, um, she said the same. Like she was in a burnout state for like more than 6 years. And it's amazing what she created, but she also said like, not at this cost. And I'm so proud of our generation because she founded her thing in 2008. And I'm so proud that our generation, like, yes, that was one event, 1 year of your life, not, 6 or 10 or even more. And that you're like, that we're seeing more clearly this is not the way how to do it. Even if the outcome is great, even if the feedback is great, but like how, like, we want to do good impact, but also in a healthy way. And I think this is something that I'm so proud of our field, that this is also slowly changing, like not sacrificing yourself to save the world, basically. Yeah. So thank you for sharing this so openly. How do we do that? What did you then change to the next year?
Yeah,
And
a
what
lot.
has worked and what hasn't, maybe also in that attempt.
Yeah, a lot. So I like the concept of path harmony, which is also I learned from Reinventing Society, which is not completely originated from them, but put it into words, which you also said, like if we want to live in a regenerative society at some point, we need to find a way which is as regenerative as possible in our current world to go there. Or if we aim for peace, we need to find a peaceful way to go there, and that on different levels as well, like within ourselves, within our organizations, communities, and on a larger scale. Because if I hate everyone around me and I hate myself, I can't be loving to other people, kind of. So this kind of my concept of how things can and should change. So I was like, okay, what can be a regenerative way for me and us to go along? So I started with doing some changes in the team and to see where do I need more support. This was one part, like very practically, and which is a still ongoing process to improve our team workings, like how processes work. And so this is still a learning track for me, because you already also talked about leadership, like also what is my responsibility, what isn't, to be clear about that. So we're still having a learning process in that, and also see which capacities do we need more people, how we get the money for that, and all those topics. And a very important shift as well for me was how I designed the program. So I changed it rather a lot to the next year. Like the framing was still the same, like the duration of the days and the length of the overall event, and like having the frame with music and so on. But the core topic I changed from those very many different workshops, which also led to we had to rearrange the rooms every 1.5 hours, depending on did the next person need the beamer in the other room, or who needed the pens in which room, and who needed the sound, and so this was very stressful for us as a team. And also it led kind of the fear of missing out syndrome with many participants, if you have like 4 or 5 different workshops at the same time and some overlapping, and this when do I go where. So for 2 reasons, like for us as a team, but also for the participants, I said it was nice for the first time to have like lots of different topics you could dive into a bit. But for the next time, I want to have a more regenerative and a deeper looking story behind it. And also for us as a team to then choose facilitators for the whole time. So I just provide the frame, and they can deal with the contents, and I don't need to do it that much. And then the groups are fixed, and you have them in their room for 2 days straight, and we don't have to change all the time. So it allowed for the possibility to dive deeper, and you know that better because you led one of those groups in the level of organization and project development. But this was a real relief for me, like in the second edition in 2025, to provide the frame to see that everyone is in their groups, but then during the group times, I could actually have a break and had like 2 mornings off, and I was like, wow, I can do a nap, or I can walk around a bit. I can see that all groups are working and happy. If someone needs something, I'm back in an hour. So it was like, wow, actually I have a break and I sleep during the night and don't have night shift or anything like that. So the change in the program was really important for me.
Nice. So happy to hear.
Yeah, and very grateful for the great facilitating teams I had, including Pia and Artyom and many others. And
also from my side, I can just add, I mean, I have already shared on my Instagram and LinkedIn videos how we were preparing the flip charts. Like, first of all, I'm also working in this field for many years now, and also for 2-3 years now, very intensely, like beyond sustainability towards regeneration, like doing this, post-capitalism work, and on the inner and outer, and like seeing that together for sure. But there are limited occasions where you can get paid for that work. So I was incredibly grateful. I think I know people who are doing this work, but it is difficult to have like projects and being paid for this work because it is still so pioneering. So I was super excited when Artem looped me in kind of last minute to facilitate on this particular aspect of like how can regeneration in organizational and project context look like. I was super excited. So also already the preparations with him were like super exciting and regenerative or stimulating, positively stimulating at least. We definitely took too many iterations of the design. Like we could have done it more effectively and efficiently, but that was not the purpose in that moment. But then getting there, like facilitation can be exhausting, like holding the space and guiding the participants. But in this case, like I shared a video on LinkedIn where we were preparing the flip charts and I don't know, spontaneous jamming session, music sounds, crazy sounds, weird, but like really soul filling and like from the soul coming. And people were coming and going and contributing actively, then just laying down passively. And Artem and I were just like drawing our flip charts for the next day and we ended all on the same time. It was so magical. Like I did work, but it did not feel as work at all. Like I was so like the energy that I put into the flip charts like came back like in the moment, you know, like I went to bed. It was late, but I was just like, it did not feel like I worked till 11, but it was just like, this was such a nice evening. I enjoyed it so much, you know. And yeah, also throughout the days that definitely, you know, continued. So yeah. So just to add my perspective to that. I see that we're at the hour.
Yes.
And we have not even started talking about like leadership and community and all those things, but it's fine. Just asking you, because I know that you're in the tiny office at Wir bauen Zukunft, which is a co-working space. Do you know if the room that you're sitting in is booked, or can we continue for like 5 or 10 more minutes?
Yeah, we can continue. I've booked it for the whole day. I've got some more work to do.
Perfect. I'll try to keep it, you know, within the next 10 minutes, maybe just an outlook into now the future. And then we'll leave the deep dive topics for another time, because I think it would be super interesting also for everyone. To hear, like now we're gonna hear what are the plans, maybe the first intentions redesign for the next year, or now 2026, what's coming up, and then we can maybe, you know, record a deep dive. I'm sure your leadership learning journey and community building for the CREATE will also evolve through this year intensely. So let's maybe catch up after the next CREATE. On that note, when is it happening, the next CREATE convention? Now that we've talked so much about it, I'm sure some people want to sign up.
Yes, so it's going to take place at the 2nd to 5th of July, again at Wir bauen Zukunft, which is closer to Hamburg, between Hamburg and Berlin and Schwerin in northern Germany. Very great place. But I think Pia has talked about it before if you want to listen to other episodes.
I haven't shared the location details yet, but the link, I
put
guess.
it in the description at some point. Yeah, so it's in northern Germany, and in first weekend of July for 4 days. And yeah, we've got a newsletter and LinkedIn and Instagram profiles and so on. And we're planning to launch the booking in February. So keep you posted.
Mark your calendars for February.
Looking forward to see
I'll make sure to also share it on my newsletter. So if I forget, or if you cannot find where to sign up for the CREATE newsletter, I will also try to share it in February on my newsletter. Perfect. So to make sure. But we have to say that it is in German, right?
Yes. So far it's in German because it's mostly like German-based community. But we're also interested because some people already said, yeah, I've got some people who I could invite in English as well. So if we see that there's enough demand, we're happy to see how we can do it in a bilingual way. It's just that if it's only like for 1 or 2 people, it's a lot of additional effort to translate everything. But happy to look into that if there are people interested in joining. So that shouldn't be
write Cathérine a message, LinkedIn, or find her email. So yeah.
We'll find a solution for that.
That's so nice to hear. That's so nice to hear. Okay, then looking into the future, what are the plans for this year? What can you already share? You mentioned at the beginning, like more focus on community building, some single events. Now a platform is coming. Maybe you can already share a little bit about that. And I also know that despite you've already made some progress on the more regenerative design and hosting of the event, like the big event itself, but Create now aims to become something more coherent and bigger and more interconnected and co-creative than just that one convention, which has been the first year, the starter. So what is the vision? What will the Create become now in 2026? And how are you going about it? Just a few behind the scenes insights.
Yes, sure. So yeah, the next convention is still in progress, like also how the details will look like. And yes, we are also still working on like how do we stabilize funding and all those processes behind this. So it might not look like if we are doing many more events, but we also want to first establish the convention like that it's also sustainable in this way. So it's a bit like a startup. So it doesn't work from here to now.
Yeah, because
So
for now, maybe that also, because I know you're very transparent and also involved in like alternative financial systems, let's say.
yes.
We can also talk about that at another time. I have many questions for sure. But yeah, so the convention itself, like we have used, or like you have used the Beitragsrunden. How do you say that in English?
Weiß nicht, maybe rounds of contribution, so where
Yeah.
people give what they can and what feels right and not a fixed price for stuff.
Yeah, so there was a fixed price for like the accommodation and the food, but then like for the convention itself, the organizing team, the facilitation team, like that was in 2 rounds on the site at the end of the event. Um, we mentioned this process already, which comes from like community supported, yeah, organizational forms, ways of doing this differently. But we have to say that the convention itself like is not self-sufficient, self-sustaining in financial terms yet, right?
Yes,
So that
exactly.
is something that you're working on, aiming for the next loop and iteration for the coming one, right?
Yes, right. So what I wanted to say is on the outside, you don't see much more maybe than before, but on the inside, it's a lot of work to set it up on like more stable terms so that it can be more long term in overall and that it can evolve into more events, because if there's a more stable foundation it's easier to do more stuff. And then we're also working on the community in form of an online platform which also will have events and like yearly content, which is still in elaboration as well, and supposed to start in spring, but keep you posted as well on that. So because we say if it's only one event, you tend to go back into your normal life and then it might fade out, or you keep some connections. And I heard a lot of stuff which people took from the last convention, which is still ongoing and what they got from it. But I still think that it's helpful to be reminded in a regular manner of what you wanted to do and maybe reflect with other people who got to know there more deeply. Am I still on a regenerative path, for example, how I'm doing my business, and also being more in contact with others, doing kind of peer coachings and things like that. So we want to establish that on the site, and then we have many more ideas what we could do in the field of sustainability, regeneration, to bring people together and to foster this. Yeah, we also want to see, because regeneration for our culture still needs to be found again. I mean, we have some solutions and approaches, but it's still like, there are so many unregenerative things in our world. There can be a lot of discovered, and we need to find ways how to do it better. So in this field, there's always a lot to do, and we have some form of more event ideas, and I think it'll be after 2026 going broader with that, because like stabilizing the convention and establishing the community for a team which is a lot of how do you say it, we're not paid yet, everyone all the time for everything. So there's a limit in capacity, and we also want to do this in a regenerative way and not overwork ourselves, which again wouldn't be harmonious to the path we want to be on. So there's lots of plans for the future ongoing, and now we establish this year, and then we see where it leads us, or maybe it's gets bilingual faster than we thought, then this would be the next step. We are also planning to see how we can diversify in other aspects, because admittedly it's still rather a certain group of people who are more likely to come, and how we can be more inclusive and integrating and working with people together from other fields, which is a very important topic, not only for CREATE and for the convention, but also beyond that. And I'm a lot in co-creating with Reinventing Society, Pioneers of Change, solopreneurs, and many people around the field to see how we can move closer together, because we sometimes have similar aspects and some people are overlapping, but many are not. So how can we distribute better and see who would be the best organization to attract which people? So yeah, to talk more about each other with each other, and then amazing things come up. I've experienced a lot already in 2025, how people and organizations are coming together, and I feel it now in 2026 it will all go on even more. Now it's a lot about connection. The deeper the connection goes, and the trust and the commitment to each other, I think more co-creation is possible, and then it can be amazingly surprising what comes up.
I'm so much looking forward to it. And just not just like the convention itself, but also like accompanying you and witnessing the small steps that you're taking. And I think from just the timeline, the outlook that you gave, it feels so, you say like, okay, maybe that will not happen in 2026. First this, and then in 2027, we can see how that, because doing things fundamentally differently, that just takes time. Because I think under stress, under pressure, with timelines and deadlines, and even if it's like very honorable goals that we have and good intentions, and also some urgency, like worldwide, like the more stress and pressure we put on ourselves, the more we fall into learned patterns of the past that we don't want to reproduce. And I feel like, or at least this is the sense that I just got from listening to you, is like, yes, let's just like take more time and constantly check in, like, are we still in the harmonious pathway of like what we want to achieve and do is the way how we do it in line, and also not change everything at the same time or create all of it all at once, but really be honest and realistic and generous with our capacities. And also I feel like then it's also more likely that unexpected things and partnerships and collaborations come up that we could not have planned for. But this is something that I still need to learn, I have to say. So this is me just like saying, you're such a role model for me. It's a privilege to accompany you on this journey and see some glimpses, witness it on the side. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your plans and how you approach things on this podcast with us today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was my honor to talk to you. Sorry for the many interruptions today.
No, I feel we're really connected.
It was just like, wow, that was so similar in so many ways, like these challenges that we need to overcome to find ourselves and find our way. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure many other people will be able to relate and find some energy and inspiration in just trusting that even if they're down in the bottom of the U, that it is worth just doing the inner work, regain strength, and then you can do some outer work. And I think it all goes in cycles, as we know.
Yes, and if I may add a final sentence on that, because
Absolutely.
it was actually also a core of which I didn't come to before between the first and the second convention. I felt at this second also that like my personal growth in the year between allowed me to also be more relaxed, more in peace with myself. And there were also things which weren't like ideal, but I had a very different way of carrying and handling it. So coming back to the last step, looking forward in the future, it's also like give yourself time to grow into what you want to achieve, and having the inner room, because we tend to stress ourselves. I need to know this now. No, take your time. Everything is new, as you said. We want to build something completely different. We need time. And I'm not the best person always at that myself to relax in the meantime, but it's like so important to not force yourself to grow, and to grow like together as well. Like you're not alone. That's also a common pattern. There's so many wonderful people out there like you, dear Pia.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for emphasizing this and putting it in such beautiful words. I think that's the perfect quote and message to end on. And looking forward to some more conversations with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed listening to today's impact story as much as I did, and that you can take some inspiration and motivation for your own work from this conversation. If you liked today's episode, you would make me incredibly happy and help spread the word about this important topic that was discussed today if you could leave a quick review for this podcast on the platform that you're listening on, and share this episode with a colleague or friend who might also be interested in driving system change. If you have any deeper comments, thoughts, or suggestions, you can always reach out to me via LinkedIn or Instagram. I would love for this podcast to be a conversation starter for more generative dialogue and mutual exchange on how to take impactful action through work to create thriving conditions for all living beings. You can find all the contact details in the show notes. I am looking very much forward to diving deep into meaningful conversations and critical questions next week again. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Wishing you well, Pia, your host.